Okay, so get this right. We are diving deep, deep into Elon Musk's robot army today.
Oh, wow.
Optimus, Tesla bots, the whole thing.
Really?
And get this, Musk actually predicts a 10 billion robot army
What? By when?
by 2040.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got articles from everywhere: BBC News, Fox News, Interesting Engineering, Mount Bonnell, Industry Wired. I mean, this is going to be wild.
It really is a fascinating concept, this whole robot thing. And, it's not just some futuristic sci-fi fantasy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is Elon Musk.
Right.
The guy's already shaking things up with Tesla and SpaceX, and now he's got his sights set on, kind of revolutionizing labor as we know it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right, so let's unpack this a little bit. Back in 2021, at Tesla's AI Day, Musk unveils this Optimus prototype,
Okay.
and he's promising this 5'8", 125-pound humanoid robot is going to be handling all those unsafe, repetitive, or boring tasks for under $20,000 a pop. Now, he initially said Optimus would be working in Tesla factories by the end of this year, with low-volume production in 2025
Okay.
and mass production by 2026.
That is an incredibly ambitious timeline, especially considering, some of Musk's past predictions haven't exactly, materialized on schedule.
Right.
Like, remember the robo-taxi?
Yeah.
Still waiting on that one.
Exactly. So then this past July, Musk goes on X, formerly Twitter, and declares that Tesla will be using Optimus robots in their factories starting next year. So is he on track this time? And is this whole robot army thing even realistic?
Well, it's important to remember that developing a fully functional humanoid robot that can perform a variety of tasks, it's incredibly complex. I mean, it's not just about assembling the hardware, right?
Right.
It's about creating sophisticated artificial intelligence that can perceive the environment, make decisions, and interact with the world in a meaningful way.
Yeah, and all this upper limb manipulation stuff that I keep reading about, that sounds especially tricky.
It is. It is. Getting robots to use their arms and hands with the same dexterity and precision as humans. I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges in robotics. Requires advanced sensors, powerful processors, and incredibly complex algorithms.
Yeah.
U.S. companies like Tesla and NVIDIA have been, investing heavily in this area, and they do have a certain edge when it comes to chip manufacturing and cloud computing, which are crucial for processing the vast amounts of data these robots generate.
So that's where companies like Tesla and NVIDIA are focusing their efforts. But then we've got this Chinese company, Agibot, kind of coming out of nowhere, claiming that they've already produced 962 humanoid robots and are aiming for 1,000 by year's end. Is China actually blowing this whole robot race?
It's certainly an interesting development. Agibot, or Zhiyun Robotics, as they're formerly known, they've been making waves in the industry with their aggressive production goals. And they're not just focused on industrial robots either. They've got models like the Expedition A2, designed for customer engagement, and the Gallet, a life-size robot designed for logistics and agriculture.
Wow.
They even have a robot that supposedly mimics human emotions.
A robot that can mimic human emotions.
Yeah. Talk about a PR stunt.
That's a little creepy, but definitely attention-grabbing.
Yeah.
So what does Agibot's progress mean for Tesla? Is this like a friendly competition, or is it like a race for global AI dominance?
It's probably a bit of both. While China might be ahead in terms of sheer numbers, it's important to consider the different approaches each country is taking.
Yeah.
U.S. companies are focusing on advanced AI and dexterity.
Yeah.
While Chinese companies seem to be prioritizing mass production and affordability.
Okay, but why is Tesla, a company known for electric cars, suddenly so obsessed with robots? I mean, they're facing a slowdown in EV demand, and their profits took a hit, according to that BBC article from July.
That's right. And Musk has been very vocal about his belief that automation is the future of labor.
Mm-hmm.
He's even said that in the future, physical work will be a choice.
Wow.
It's not hard to see how robots could be Tesla's solution to rising labor costs and potential workforce shortages, especially as they aim for, company-wide cost reduction.
So is this just a profit-driven move, or is there like a more altruistic motive behind Musk's robot ambitions?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Musk paints a very utopian vision of a future where robots handle all the menial tasks, freeing up humans to pursue more creative and fulfilling endeavors. He calls it the age of abundance.
I have to admit, the idea of a robot doing my laundry and dishes sounds pretty appealing. But let's be real, a 10 billion robot army, each costing, $20,000 to $25,000. I mean, is that even feasible? And what are the potential consequences of such a massive shift in labor?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting because Musk's vision goes far beyond simply automating factories or making life more convenient.
Yeah.
He's talking about a fundamental restructuring of society where robots handle most, if not all, labor. Now, on the surface, that might sound great, right?
Right.
More leisure time, freedom from dangerous jobs, potentially even a solution to global poverty. But what about the people whose jobs are displaced by robots?
Right.
What about the potential for economic inequality to widen even further?
And those Wii Robot event demos where they had those Optimus Gen 2 robots like serving drinks.
Oh,
I mean, were those even truly autonomous or were they being controlled by humans, like, behind the scenes? I mean, serving drinks is cool and all.
Right. But it's hardly, the age of abundance that Musk is promising.
That's a valid point. There's a big difference between pre-programmed tasks and true artificial intelligence. Musk's vision requires robots that can think, learn, and adapt to complex situations, not just follow a set of instructions.
So is Musk a visionary genius leading us to a robot-powered utopia? Or is he, just a tad delusional?
Perhaps a bit of both. What I find so compelling about this whole situation is that it forces us to confront some fundamental questions about technology, work, and what it means to be human in a world increasingly shaped by artificial intelligence.
Whoa. Okay, that's pretty deep. But honestly, after reading all these articles and hearing your insights, I'm still not sure what to believe. I mean, are Elon Musk's robots real, or are we just living in the realm of science fiction? And if they are real, what does that mean for all of us? Yeah, it's a question worth pondering, for sure. And here's something else to consider. We've been focusing a lot on Tesla and Elon Musk, but they're not the only players in this game. Remember that Fox News article that mentioned how Musk's robot designs were similar to those in the movie I, Robot?
Yeah, I do.
Well, that movie came out over 20 years ago.
Right.
Humanoid robots have been a concept for a long time.
That's true. I guess when you have a big personality like Elon Musk making these bold predictions, it tends to capture everyone's attention.
Exactly. But this doesn't mean Tesla has a monopoly on the future of robotics. Other companies, other countries are making significant strides in this field. We've already talked about Agibot, but there are others out there quietly developing their own robotic technologies.
So what does this mean for the future of robotics? Is this a friendly competition to see who can build the best robot butler? Or is it something more strategic, maybe even a race for global AI dominance?
Those are the questions we should be asking, because the choices we make today about technology, about work, about the kind of world we want to live in will determine the future. And that future is coming faster than we think.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. I need a minute to process all this. This deep dive has been intense.
Intense, but important. We've only just scratched the surface here, but hopefully this has given you a new perspective on the world of robots and the future that might be just around the corner.
It definitely has. Sometimes I think we get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to step back and look at the bigger picture. Like, are we really on the verge of a robot revolution?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a question we all need to be asking ourselves.
Well, one thing's for sure, this is a conversation that's only going to get more important as technology continues to advance. So what do we do? Should we start learning how to spin a robot?
Maybe, but on a more serious note, I think the first step is awareness. Understanding the technology, its implications, and the potential benefits and risks.
What really struck me was that article from Mount Bonnell, which talked about Musk's plan to essentially flood the Earth with these robots.
Oh, yeah.
Like literally flood the Earth.
Right.
Is that even possible?
Whether it's actually possible is almost beside the point. What's significant is that someone like Musk, with his influence and resources, is even thinking along these lines.
It's like he's challenging us to imagine a future that's radically different from anything we've ever known.
Exactly. And whether we agree with his vision or not, it's a conversation we need to be having, because the choices we make today will determine the future. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Honestly, I started this deep dive thinking we were going to talk about cool robots. I didn't realize we were going to end up in an existential crisis.
Well, sometimes the most fascinating discoveries happen when you least expect them. And that's the beauty of knowledge, isn't it? It has a way of expanding our horizons, challenging our assumptions, and making us think in new ways.
You're right. This has been a wild ride, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Thanks for being our guide through this robot-filled landscape.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to you listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Elon Musk's robot army. Whether you're excited, terrified, or just plain curious, we hope this has given you something to think about. After all, the future is coming, and it's up to all of us to shape it.
Absolutely. And one of the most important ways we can shape that future is by asking questions, challenging assumptions, and engaging in thoughtful discussions like the one we've had today.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's leave you with a thought-provoking question. Imagine a world where robots handle your daily chores, your job, maybe even your caregiving needs. Does that sound like a utopia or a dystopia? The answer might surprise you.
You know, it's a question that really gets to the heart of this whole robot revolution, doesn't it?
All right.
On the one hand, the idea of robots taking over all those tedious, sometimes dangerous tasks is undeniably appealing, right?
Right.
But then there's that nagging question, what happens to us?
Right.
To our jobs, to
Yep.
our sense of purpose.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to get caught up in the gee whiz coolness of it all, but then you start thinking about the potential downsides. Like, what if this age of abundance Musk keeps talking about is only an abundance for the people who own the robots?
Right. That's a crucial point. We've seen this happen time and again with technological advancements. The benefits aren't always distributed equally. The potential for robots to exacerbate existing inequalities is a very real concern.
And what about the impact on the global workforce? I mean, we're already seeing automation replacing jobs in manufacturing and other industries. If Musk's vision comes to pass, I mean, are we looking at mass unemployment?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Right.
Some experts argue that new jobs will emerge to replace the ones lost to automation, just as they did during previous technological revolutions. Others are more pessimistic,
Right.
predicting widespread unemployment and social unrest.
Okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, that Musk's prediction comes true.
Okay, yeah.
We've got 10 billion robots handling, most of the labor. What does that world actually look like? What do people do all day?
Right, well, that's where the concept of the age of abundance comes in. Musk envisions a world where humans are freed from the drudgery of work, allowing them to pursue their passions, their creativity, their intellectual pursuits. Think, artists, musicians, scientists, explorers.
Yeah.
People dedicating their lives to things that bring them joy and fulfillment.
Okay, that sounds pretty idyllic. But wouldn't that kind of existence get boring after a while? I mean, don't we need some kind of challenge, some kind of purpose to feel fulfilled?
It's a valid question. Some psychologists argue that work provides us with a sense of structure, identity, and accomplishment that's essential for well-being.
Mm-hmm.
If robots take over all the jobs, how do we find that sense of purpose? How do we define ourselves?
Right. These are big questions, and I'm not sure anyone has the answers yet, but it's definitely something we need to be thinking about, especially as this technology continues to advance.
Absolutely. And while we're pondering these existential questions, there's another layer to consider the geopolitical implications of this robot revolution.
Oh, right. Yeah, we talked about the competition between Tesla and Ajbot, but you mentioned that there are other players in the game too.
Exactly. Yeah. This isn't just a race between companies. It's a race between nations.
Mm-hmm.
Countries like Japan and South Korea are also investing heavily in robotics, and they have their own strengths and areas of expertise. The question is, will this competition remain relatively benign, a quest for technological advancement and economic dominance, or could it escalate into something more unsettling?
Unsettling.
Like robot wars.
Maybe not robot wars, at least not in the traditional sense. But imagine a world where the balance of power is determined by who controls the most advanced robot technology. Who has the most efficient workforce, the strongest military capabilities, the most sophisticated AI. Okay, now that is unsettling. So what can we do about it? I mean, is there any way to prevent this kind of dystopian future?
Well, first and foremost, we need to be having these conversations. We need to be aware of the potential risks and benefits of this technology, and we need to be thinking critically about the choices we're making.
Right, because those choices are going to determine the future, for better or worse.
Exactly. Yeah, we can't afford to be passive observers in this robot revolution. We need to be active participants, shaping the technology and its impact on our lives.
So what does that look like in practice? What can we as individuals actually do?
Well, there are a lot of things we can do. We can support research and development that prioritizes ethical considerations. We can advocate for policies that ensure the benefits of automation are shared equitably, and perhaps most importantly, we can educate ourselves and others about the potential impacts of this technology, so we can make informed decisions about the future we want to create.
I have to admit, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by all of this. It's a lot to process.
I understand. It's a lot to wrap our heads around,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also incredibly exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're living in a time of unprecedented technological advancement, and the choices we make now will shape the course of human history.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a lot of responsibility,
Yeah.
but it's also an incredible opportunity. So what's next? Where do we go from here?
Well, we've explored the potential benefits and risks of Musk's robot army, the geopolitical implications and the ethical considerations. But there's one more fascinating aspect we haven't delved into yet. The philosophical implications.
Philosophical implications. Now we're really getting deep.
Indeed, yeah, because when we talk about robots that can think, learn, and potentially even feel, we're crossing into some uncharted territory. What does it mean to be human in a world where machines are becoming increasingly intelligent? What are the boundaries between natural and artificial intelligence, and what are the ethical implications of creating beings that could potentially surpass us in intelligence and capability?
Oh, okay. I need a minute to process that. That's a whole other level of deep dive.
It is, yeah. And it's a level we need to be exploring, because the future is coming, whether we're ready for it or not.
Well, on that note, let's take a quick break and come back to delve into these philosophical questions. This deep dive is just getting started. Okay, so we talked about the potential of Musk's robot army, the economic and geopolitical implications, even the ethical dilemmas. But now we're going full on philosophy, robots, and the meaning of life. Who would have thought?
It's fascinating, isn't it? We're essentially talking about, like, the nature of consciousness, the definition of intelligence, and what sets us apart as humans.
Exactly. Like if a robot can learn and adapt, maybe even mimic emotions, like we heard about with that Agibot model, at what point does it become something more than just a machine?
That's a question that's been debated by philosophers and scientists for decades, and it's only becoming more relevant as artificial intelligence advances.
Right.
Some argue that consciousness is an emergent property of complex systems, and as AI becomes more sophisticated, it's inevitable that it will develop some form of consciousness.
So we're talking about robots that can think and feel, maybe even have their own sense of self. That's both mind-blowing and a little terrifying.
It is a profound concept to grapple with,
Right.
and it raises all sorts of ethical questions. If we create machines that are capable of suffering, do we have a moral obligation to treat them with compassion? Do they deserve rights? What happens if they surpass us in intelligence and decide they no longer need us?
Okay, now we're definitely in science fiction territory.
Yeah.
But this isn't just some, abstract thought experiment anymore. These are questions we may have to face in our lifetime.
That's right. And the answers aren't simple. They require us to engage in deep, thoughtful discussions about the values we hold dear, the future we want to create, and the kind of relationship we want to have with these intelligent machines. Yeah.
It's a lot to consider, and honestly, it's a bit overwhelming. But I think it's important to remember that we have agency in all of this. We're not just passive bystanders. We have a say in how this technology develops and how it's used.
Absolutely, we can choose to approach this robot revolution with fear and trepidation, or we can choose to see it as an opportunity to reimagine our world, to create a future that benefits all of humanity.
So how do we do that? What are some practical steps we can take to ensure that this robot-powered future is one we can all embrace?
Well, for starters, we need to invest in education and research that prioritizes ethical AI development.
Yeah.
We need to create frameworks and regulations that ensure these technologies are used responsibly and for the greater good.
Right.
And perhaps most importantly, we need to foster open and honest conversations about the potential impacts of AI involving everyone from scientists and policymakers to everyday citizens.
Because ultimately, the future is not something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.
Precisely, yeah.
Yeah.
And by engaging in these conversations, by considering different perspectives, by challenging our assumptions, we can shape a future that is both technologically advanced and ethically sound.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it for today. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the nuts and bolts of robot technology to the philosophical implications of artificial intelligence. What stands out to you from all of this?
I think what's most striking is the sheer scope of this technological revolution. We're not just talking about incremental improvements. We're talking about a fundamental shift in the way we live, work, and even think about what it means to be human.
And it's happening faster than most of us realize. We're already seeing the early stages of this robot revolution, and it's only going to accelerate from here.
Right, and that's why it's so crucial that we engage in these conversations now before it's too late. We need to be proactive, thoughtful, and deliberate in our approach to AI, ensuring that it serves humanity, not the other way around.
Well said. And to you listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Elon Musk's robot army and the broader implications of artificial intelligence. We hope this has sparked your curiosity, challenged your assumptions, and maybe even inspired you to take an active role in shaping the future.
Remember, the future is not predetermined. It's up to all of us to create the world we want to live in.
And that's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.